The year is 2018. Kamurocho is playing host to Kansai-based Yakuza, who've been turning up dead with their eyes gouged out. Lawyer-turned-detective Takayuki Yagami took on the case, proving the suspect's alibi. But he can't shake the feeling that the true culprit is out there. He gives this anonymous killer a name. Yagami calls him the Mole. Matsugani family captain Kyohei Hamura is connected to the Mole. Confirming his suspicions, Yagami's progress is impeded. The entire city is under Hamura's surveillance, and it went deeper than he knew. Alone and out of options, Yagami receives a little support. But the night is still young. As Yagami chases the Mole, the Matsugani family's net tightens. A year ago, Kaito was expelled from the family, and its power structure changed entirely. But the whole thing was a setup. In Kamurocho, men are pulled into the criminal underworld's currents. But those that refuse to submit to its tides will always struggle. The Tojo clan is struck by Kyorei clan gunfire. Kamurocho's disarray only spreads wider. On the surface, the diagram resembles a Yakuza turf war. But in the shadows are glimpses of a construction firm and political influence. And in Yagami's own shadow, the Mole's sharp claws claim yet another victim. The Mole's latest victim was the lawyer, Shintani. The last call he made brings the case that ruined Yagami 3 years ago back to the surface. A patient was taken from a hospital and found buried in the mountains. Yagami defended the suspect, Shinpei Okubo, and got an acquittal, but 1 month later, he murdered his girlfriend Emi Terasawa with a kitchen knife and burned the remains. With the Mole's murder of Shintani, the police begin to suspect Yagami and subpoena him. The cases of both past and present become a volatile mix at the ADDC. At one point, the land it sits on had been the target of a redevelopment scheme. And behind that plan, the Kansai-based construction company, the Kajihira Group, and its chairman, Shigeru Kajihira. In the roaring din of the city, the death of the ADDC's vice director hardly made a sound. Behind his death are the vast profits of the AD-9 drug. Yagami arrives at the possibility that all the deaths were premeditated. But the prosecution's eye for such detail is wanting, and Detective Ayabe is indicted for Shintani's murder. The mole was Hamura's personal underworld assassin. With a mounting threat behind them, Yagami and Kaito are forced to cut ties with Matsugane. And the two set foot down a path of no return. Finally, the name of a mastermind bubbles to the surface. The man is an AD-9 researcher, Yoji Shono. Three years ago, a dementia patient at the ADDC was murdered. Even now, Shinpei Okubo, the man convicted of the crime, pleads innocence. But Yagami's theory that this chain of events was set in motion by human experimentation for AD-9 unveils the true culprit behind Emi Terasawa's death. AD-9's dark human experiments, the mole who facilitated them. As Yagami gets closer to the truth, the trap is sprung. Details come at the cost of Kaito's blood. And each word that Hamura, the Matsugane family captain, speaks pulls back the veil a little further. The Matsugane family and the mole mount an assault, and the Kamurocho ambitions of the Kyorei clan crumble. Betrayed by his inner circle, Hamura becomes a target himself, so he reveals to Yagami the mole's true identity. He is Kamurocho's organized crime division detective, Kuroiwa. The man who took Matsugane's life falls under the shield of AD-9's powerful benefactors.
They held his funeral at Tojo clan headquarters. It was an intimate service. The Matsugane family would have passed to Hamura, but with him missing, it was all but dissolved. It wasn't like he'd made much of an impact on the Tojo brass to begin with. But to Genda-sensei, he was an old friend of over 40 years. And then there was Kaito-san, who joined up after finishing middle school. And Higashi, too. When Kaito got expelled, protecting the boss became his personal mission. All of us knew exactly who was responsible for taking him from us. It was just a matter of finding the proof.
The AD-9 conspiracy entangled the ADDC's director Kido, the same man who had unveiled it to the world. An unfinished drug that exacted human sacrifice. Yagami believed he had finally found definitive proof. But even that was swallowed by the darkness. All for the greater good of a drug that would save humanity.